Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Best Agent Breakfast Show. It is Thursday, the 9th of March. I'm Charlie Hamden, the founder of Best Agent. And this morning, we're going to be unpicking the RICS February survey, the UK Residential Market Survey, which has got some interesting things to look at. Now, this is a show for estate agents. Anyone's welcome to watch it, but it is aimed at and is specifically for estate agents. So that is to whom I am addressing this video. I wanted to start with all three property news sites, the Property Industry Eye, EAT, and The Negotiator, are covering this story this morning. And all three have picked up on some positivity. I would just caution against that. I'm not going to go into interpreting it much. I want to stick to the numbers rather than the words. But I dispute this headline. There are not more new buyers. That's not what the survey says. The negativity about there is still a decline in new buyers, but the decline is not as fast. All right. So I just wanted to go to this line here, which actually spells out what I'm saying. So this is the headline reading for new buyer inquiries rebounded to a net balance of minus 29%. So they're saying that it was minus 45%, which is very, very bad. It's still minus 29%, which is bad. Now, what they say is, whilst this metric is still signaling a decline in demand, demand is still declining. So I think it's really important not to be misled by those headlines, because there's nothing worse than false hope and optimism. And it's better to be in possession of actually the real facts. Okay, house prices remain on a downward trajectory and are expected to see further falls. You're going to see increasing supply, so more stock coming into the market. That's downward pressure on prices. Still declining buyers. That's downward pressure on prices. So, in my mind, although the direction of negativity is now less negative doesn't mean positive. It's really important to understand that, right? Just from a purely mathematical point of view, less negative is still negative. It is not positive. It is just less negative. No point in pretending otherwise. Too many people think that less negative means positive, and it doesn't, right? If it's pouring with rain and then it stops and it's just drizzling, it's still raining. It's not dry. But the metaphor I'm giving here is that people think that if it's raining less, it must mean it's dry. No, it doesn't. It is still negative. I'm not trying to be a doom monger here. I'm not. I just want people to be cold and hard and impartial about the facts of this survey. Now, I have linked in the video below to the full PDF, and I want to just run through a few of the key metrics in here that I think matter. So, national prices the past 3 months. The sentiment is still negative, although just starting to. The other thing I think is really worthwhile remembering is that the RICS is considered by Goldman Sachs to be the best short-term lead indicator of house prices and activity, and by the Financial Times of one of the most reliable guides to movements in house prices. Now, if I was an estate agent, that would mean a lot to me, right? If those two external organizations consider this survey to be one of the best indicators of what's happening in the housing market. Now, bearing that in mind, it was last July that, no, sorry, not last, it was last May, in fact, that the RICS actually started to turn negative with their survey in terms of demand. Now, the reason I say that is because that's about 9 months ago. Okay. And it's worth bearing in mind that the RICS survey results tend to be about 9 months ahead of what finally gets reported when transaction volumes and prices finally start to come out. Bear that in mind, right? It was last May that I was calling what I saw as a house price fall and a downturn in the market. And it was about the same time that although I hadn't realized at the time, the RICS were doing the same thing, but everybody ignored it. Now, what I don't understand is why estate agents would ignore the RICS survey when it is members of your own industry. And to me, the RICS survey last year was accurate. It was a predictor, it was a leading indicator, and it was accurate. And it's worth remembering that this downturn began long before the mini budget happened in September. A lot of people blaming the mini budget for the situation we're in now. It's not the case. The mini budget was a bump in the road on the way down, definitely, and didn't help and made things worse in terms of creating more uncertainty. But the underlying trend in the property market, in the housing market, was already well underway. So let's get into these numbers and just try to remember that this is a 9-month. Sorry, let me just get the survey up on screen again. A 9-month prediction. Roughly speaking, what you're seeing in the RICS survey now is what's going to be coming out in official results in roughly 6 to 9 months. Okay. So prices still negative. All right. So this is not this is not percentage increase in house prices. It's the change in the balance between positive expectations in prices and negative expectations in prices. Okay. So there are still negative expectations in prices, and it's still below. It's still down there in minus 40% in terms of the net balance of surveyors. All right. So prices still heavily expected to fall. No surprise there, right? No surprise. And in fact, that is still that has got worse. That is lowest since the pandemic. So at the beginning of the pandemic, prices were expected to fall because we didn't know what government intervention there was going to be with stamp duty and things like that. When the government intervention came in the form of furlough money and stamp duty holiday and that kind of stuff, of course, it propped up the housing market. Regional breakdowns are very interesting there as well. For those of you who want to know what's happening in your area, Scotland and Northern Ireland are still a net balance is still positive on prices. Worth knowing. National inquiries in the past month. So on the left-hand side, we've got national. On the right-hand side, we've got regional. Oh, sorry, guys, I haven't got this on the screen. Forgive me. Forgive me. Let's just go back up to the one above I was talking about. So there we are. National prices past 3 months. That is the most negative the RICS has been on prices since. That's lower than 2011. So since 2009, right? That is the most negative that this survey has been on house prices since 2009. And there's the regional stuff for you to look at. Now, inquiries, right? New buyer inquiries. Now, what you can see here is it's still negative. It's minus 29 is the balance. But it is getting less negative. But what that means is that they are still expecting a decline in buyers to continue. The decline just isn't going to be as fast. Okay, important to understand that. Do not be misled by the headlines saying, "Oh, it's not quite as bad as we thought." I'm going to stick to the national stuff on the left-hand side here. Now, new vendor instructions. So that's actually been negative for a while. So less instructions coming in the market, but it's moving upwards. And they're seeing a gradual increase. So there's still slightly negative expectations on new vendor instructions in the past month. But I think all the people that I'm talking to are seeing a lot more stuff coming in the market. Newly agreed sales. So still in negative territory, but less negative nationally. And I think I'm going to just skip down to, okay, national average sales per surveyor the past 3 months. That has been falling, but it looks like it's starting to level out, which is good news. And the average stocks per surveyor looks like it's starting to creep up slowly. Now, in the normal market, that would be great news, but it's not necessarily good news unless it turns into transactions. So I want to reiterate my point about making sure that you're very picky with what properties that you list. If you want to make sure that you're the one doing transactions, not just listing stuff that you can't sell. Very quick look at the lettings market charts as well. Now, what I find interesting here is that the tenant demand is still positive. So there's still an increase in tenant demand nationally. But there is a definite downward trend in there. Can you see that? And I'd be interested to see, because my gut feel, just gut feel, no data to support it, Some anecdotal data I've got to support it, but my gut feel for a while has been that rents will come down, but probably not for a little while yet. I had a letter from I had an email from a mover yesterday talking about how this is someone in their early 30s. Lots and lots of his friends are moving out of rented accommodation and back in with their parents because they can't afford the bills. New landlord instructions. So new properties coming to the lettings market is still in negative territory, but starting to be less negative. So that's good too. Guys, I wanted to just share another story with you from yesterday's Telegraph that I think is a story I'd want to know about if I was an agent. This is a buy-to-let mortgage. Well, as a mortgage expert, specializes in the buy-to-let market. And this is a story in the Telegraph yesterday. And he's not talking about buy-to-let entirely being dead and buried. He's talking about buy-to-let with a mortgage. So in other words, for people who need a mortgage to get into buy-to-let, that sector is dead and buried. And that's been a very big sector for a while. That is, I'll put a link to this under the article as well for those of you who want to see it. But it was very interesting. And he goes up at the bottom of the article, he says, whether it's a house to live in or a place to rent out, we're talking about the homes of millions of families and individuals. There is a huge systemic shock building up due to the bank rate moving from 0.1% to 4% in a little over 12 months. So to those of you with your fingers on the trigger, I say this: erring on the side of caution might actually help save the day, and with it, the finances of millions of people. I was very surprised to read that. Pretty powerful stuff from someone in the mortgage business. Right. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that's useful and helpful. Quick snapshot of the RICS survey. Oh, the link in the description doesn't work. Thank you. I will fix that link in the description. But guys, have a good day. I hope that's helpful. If you haven't set up your BestAgent back office account, please do so. bestagent.co.uk. Make sure you're getting your leads, your free telephone leads, and your viewing and vendor leads to the right email address. And I will see you on tomorrow's breakfast show. Friday is the last one of the week. And I look forward to that. Have a fantastic day and travel safe. If you're traveling in the snow, make sure to take an extra coat or a blanket or a flask of tea or something. All right, guys. Thanks. Have a good day.